Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Council Advisory Meeting of December 8th, 2025. This meeting is being held in chambers and live streamed on the Town of Kentville's YouTube channel, sorry. The meeting package is also posted on the Town of Kentville's website. This meeting is called to order, and I note that we do have quorum tonight. I respectfully acknowledge that we are on traditional and unceded lands of the Mi'kmaq people. We honor their deep connection to this land, past, present, and future. I also recognize and honor the contributions and heritage of African Nova Scotians, whose ancestors have shaped and enriched this community for generations. Are there any conflict of interest issues that we should be made aware of before this meeting commences? There are none? We will should approve the agenda first. We have one change before you move it. There's one change, item 4A. The presentation's been postponed tonight due to the weather, so that will be rescheduled in the new year. Are there any other changes to the agenda, additions or deletions? They're being moved by Councillor Savage and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Kroll. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. The agenda is adopted. I will ask again if there's any conflict of interest issues we should be made aware of before we commence. None? Okay.
B is not. B is not. I can't tell from that.
3A?
No.
Or 4A, sorry.
8B, that's not
Eight.
conflict.
No, 8B was emailed.
Right. AP was emailed.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Or, no. 8,
No, AP was based on a discussion we had in here previous
Yeah,
meeting.
you're
Yeah,
fine.
you're fine though.
Yes.
8C was circulated. There was the email sent to everybody for 8C.
No, you're fine. Okay, we have a set of minutes from the November 10th, 2025 CAC meeting. Are there any changes to this set of minutes? If there are none, we will accept them as distributed. Here, you are so efficient. Done. We'll now move on to department reports and recommendations, and I'll invite Director Langell up from Parks and Recreation.
Hello, Mayor and Council. So in front of you, you have our CAC report for Parks and Recreation for the month of November. I just want to highlight a couple of areas that are not within the report. We've started planning for 26-27. I know we're a little ahead of ourselves. We had to submit for Canada Summer Jobs Grant, and we've identified an additional 12 grant opportunities for 26-27 that we'll be looking for summer students and some programming funding opportunities. In regards to holidays, I believe everybody knows it was a huge success. We had numbers upwards of 500 people for the tree lighting. We had 30 people for movie night in the square, so that was the Grinch movie. Then we had 40 people at the carol singing at Outing Park with the Outing Park Community Garden Group. From a staffing lens, we have filled 2 of our permanent positions, as well as one of our arena staff has been accepted into the refrigeration ticket course. So they'll be starting in the spring. And then final note is the pool. All pool pipe connections have been completed and capped. So the remaining things to do are the pressure testing of the system and then just backfilling and putting the pavers back in. And that's it for my report. Any questions?
Thank you, Director Langer. Are there any questions for the director based on his report? Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Director. I was just wondering, is that backfilling going to take place now, or are we going to wait until spring for that?
We want to get the pressure test done
pressure
first.
test.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that going to wait till spring, or?
My preference would be to have it all completed, but if it needs to wait for the spring, having a backfill and put the pavers in place would probably suit better for the spring, just to ensure that there's no movement within the ground.
Yeah, that's what, and I was just wondering, like, if we don't get it done till spring, is there any risk to the tank with those pavers not being in and things like that?
No.
It's all filled right into the tank, is it?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything should be fine. all the piping would be fine because there's no water running through it. It would just be done for the test and then flushed and then capped again.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. You might not have the answer for this because it's still quite new, but the winter program's launched today.
Yep.
Are there openings still available? Did they all book up, or do we know?
Yep, there's still lots of opportunity in pickleball. Our Active for Life actually opens tomorrow.
Okay.
And that's because it's through a partnership with Acadia University. But a lot of our programs do have a lot of openings and a lot of opportunities for the public still.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
We'll now invite up Chief Smith from the Kentville Police Service.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Welcome to our new Deputy Clerk, Victoria, and CAO. Tonight I'm going to present October's minutes from the board. So call volume wise, we had an increase of just about 14% in calls for service from October 2024 to 2025. We're up to 381. I've since done November, and actually in November our call volume is down a fair bit. In saying that, it's down under 300 in the month of November. So highlights and initiatives, we had a lot of community involvement in October. Trunk or treat, we attended the Fallen Memorial Ceremony in Halifax. We had several members involved in the Valley Harvest Marathon, raised over $2,400 for cancer, and we had our first annual Battle of Badges hockey game. Again, I said we had 381 calls in the month of October. We had some of the higher level files. We had a robbery file which was solved. 137 of our calls, again, were down in the downtown core, dealing with the issues that we've had many discussions with over the last several months. By my calculation, that's about a 36% call volumes in the downtown core. Training is starting to pick up quite a bit. All of our pistol qualifications are done now. We have training on sexual assault and hate crime training. Hate crime training comes in line with our strategic plan. And within the next few months, you'll see us have a community engagement session with the individual that did our training for that as well. So we're going to start engaging the community on their perspectives and some of the issues they're seeing. So. Community engagement sergeant was pretty busy in the month of October covering calls. Of course, we had the wildfires there as well. He was dealing with Remo. GIS, 10 active investigations. CDSA warrant, he dealt with the armed robbery that was solved, like I mentioned, and another CDSA search warrant as well. SKU was pretty much vacant in the month of October, and so was our community crisis navigator. Does anybody have any questions for the month of October's report?
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for the Chief? I don't see any lights on, so
Wow.
thank you.
That's a first.
We'll now invite up Engineering and Public Works Director Bell.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start, as I usually do, with the Water Commission. Just a quick update on the sort of the one big project the Commission is doing this year is the meter replacement program. By later this month, all of the proposed 380 meters will have been replaced, keeping us on track to finish in this calendar year before Christmas. In the last 2 years, that will total a total replacement of about 780 meters throughout town. Of our oldest and most difficult to read meters. This upgrade will improve accuracy, enhance system monitoring, and support more efficient water service and billing for our water customers. Under sanitary sewer service, there were no operational issues with the town's sanitary sewer service, and capital upgrades at the regional sewer plant in Umanis continue and are nearly complete to remove sludge and add additional aeration lines. Update on our three biggest capital projects. The grid project, which is the Main Street program out front here. which is two projects in one. It's the grid storm sidewalk and curbing, and then the provincial paving project. The grid portion is now substantially complete, and the provincial trunk paving program that helped fund the repaving of Main Street from Aberdeen to Southview Avenue just finished last Sunday, week and a day ago, just in time before our first real taste of winter. And we will be working with the contractor to finalize a few remaining details before winter fully sets in, but it looks like we're already there. Under AT, the new sidewalk connecting Church Avenue to Academy Street on Prospect Avenue is also complete. This connection not only improves pedestrian safety and accessibility, but also enhances drainage in the area by providing a more controlled surface for runoff from this steeply graded street. Under the Hilts Road project, this year's phase of the ICIP-funded Hilts project will wrap up in December as we prepare for winter. Most pipe work is complete, including the new water main linking the business park to the Prospect system, and storm infrastructure is also nearly finished, and the road is about 85% built to the base gravel level. Once this phase ends, the road will be gated and closed off to vehicles until further curbing and paving are done, but it will reopen for the full AT component that folks are used to, using it as a trail for walking and skiing and biking. So once it's no longer construction zone, roughly around Christmas time. The next year's work will include replacing the business park water tank to improve system reliability. The last item to touch on is our stormwater infrastructure maintenance program. So we're wrapping that up for the season as we prepare for winter operations. And I can speak to a few items under the maintenance side of things, such as catch basin repairs throughout town. We still had a couple on Park Street. We're waiting for asphalt, and we still have a hope that there's going to be a window to get those paved in before the asphalt plants close later this month. We also did, as you know, ditching along major drainage ways, such as the south side of the Harvest Moon Trail, culvert replacements in a few different subdivisions that have sort of side yard and backyard easements that had old pipe work needed to be replaced. Acadia Drive's one example of that. And then that's the operating side of things, but versus the capital improvements, such as the downtown Main Street program grid, the Hilts program, the ICIP funded, will make a huge difference in the stormwater management of those steeper downstream areas. We're already seeing, we haven't had a significant rain event, or we haven't had certainly a tropical storm event to truly test the work on the Hilts Road, but we can tell even from the rains that we've had that we're seeing much less intense runoffs on the ditches and pipes and streams that are downtown of that Hilts Road. And the other things that I mentioned, like in the report, the curbing and improvements to Prospect Avenue, part of the AT, and all of which have made substantial improvements to our old stormwater infrastructure. Next project on the docket, we did receive a couple different streams of funding to help for the design portion, both from FCM and NSFM. For the east end, I think it was called Area 4 in the Dillon project, or Dillon Stormwater Study, which is a Millbrook Crescent Avenue area, which has tidal influence from the Cornwallis River. The funding available was for areas under tidal influence, so that was the only project that we had that fit the criteria. So we'll be working on that in January with consultants, and once we have a better scope, we'll be looking at construction, hopefully funding sources, and what can be done in that area. It's difficult because it truly does lie in a floodplain. So those are my updates. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Director Bell. Before I take questions, I just want to thank you and your team and the contractors for the great job downtown. I know in my other job, my other gig, anytime that I hear that they're going to do work downtown like that, I cringe. But it looks fabulous. They did a great job, and the town has never looked better. So I want to thank you and everybody involved.
Thanks. I'll pass that on to the contractor,
Perfect.
Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor, through you to Director Bell. Just a couple of questions that I have with respect to the water meter replacement program. So those that will have their water meters replaced now, obviously their charges will be different than those who don't have them replaced. I know it's being done over a 5-year stint. I'm assuming, but I could be wrong.
Charge is not necessarily, Counselor. They're a more accurate meter because
Right.
as meters age, they lose accuracy kind of in the homeowner's favor. Typically, as they age, they record on the low side. So there is the potential that if you're a higher user, some of that water wasn't being captured.
Sure.
And water in also includes water out for the wastewater
Okay.
or the area sewer service charges. So not a higher charge, but a more accurate picture of what's truly being used.
And I probably should have, yeah.
It could mean that.
Put it that
It's,
way,
you know, some of the meters are still accurate. It's the fact that they're the older style.
Yes.
Mechanical meters, and those are the ones that age. And all the ones that we're replacing are at that anywhere from a 10+ to up towards 25+
Sure.
year old, depending on the house. But all of our new meters are radio read, non-mechanical, and that will allow, when we get them sort of in somewhere in the 80% town-wide changeover, will allow us to basically read those meters almost from the truck. We can.
Right,
We'll
okay.
We'll put a more powerful radio read in the vehicle.
Yep.
Right now, they do get out and do
Yes,
sort of foot.
yeah,
Currently, they go to your house. Every house that has the old style has to be touched with a meter read. The future ones, we can walk the route in the middle of the road almost, and then the long-term plan would be to upgrade at least one truck
Okay.
to have that capability to read the entire town in
great.
a matter of days.
Okay.
Instead of weeks.
Great, thank you. I just had a question about the curbing and paving on the Don Hills connector. So I know it's 85% built now. Do we have any kind of idea if there's going to be grants in the upcoming year that could potentially, we could complete that over the next couple of years? I have a lot of folks that ask me questions
yeah.
around that one.
Hopeful in the next couple, see nothing coming up for next fiscal, or,
No,
you know.
not next fiscal, okay.
Don't see anything. We're talking, and now that we are getting closer to that stage, we'll get some more accurate pricing, because even when we applied, which was 2021, I think, when we applied for funding, it didn't include curbing or paving,
Right.
definitely, or even the AT component. Everything is built to be ready for curbing, paving. There'd be some local catch basins that need to be installed along that time. Like when they built the road for this part of the project, it only included the major big box culverts and stormwater ponds, that sort of thing. There's still some rolling hills, so there'll be some smaller catch basins on those low spots to take it to the other major crossings. So it's smaller catch basins, and then the curbing, and then the paving, and then I think the design includes maybe a 3-meter wide multi-use trail on the high side, the south side.
Okay.
So that we try to do that all in one big hard surface sort of tender of curbing, paving in AT. But still in the, few $1 million range, and I'll throw a $4 to $5 million number at it, but.
To do the curbing and paving.
Curbing, paving,
Yeah.
because it is, almost 3 kilometers of.
Right, yes.
Two sides, so really it's 6 kilometers of curbing to do 2 sides, and then paving and an AT component, so.
Okay, great.
Still to make it a open street.
Yeah.
A fair bit of money to spend.
Yes, okay,
or to
thank you.
Acquire.
Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. I'm glad to hear that the paving or the asphalt plants haven't closed yet. I have 2 concerns. The cutouts on Belcher Street that are just, you know what I mean?
Sidewalk areas,
the
sorry,
sidewalk
Councillor?
Cutouts. Yeah, I'm hoping that we
Plan
get
was
that
for
done.
today, that got postponed till tomorrow. They
yeah.
still hope to dig out tomorrow. I know it doesn't even look feasible yet, but when I spoke to the contractor today, we as Public Works dig out
Oh, okay.
just they're already
The
mostly
snow and
dug out,
stuff.
but there's a little ramp on either end of the lip.
Yeah.
We'll dig that out and they'll pave those 2, I think one's 12 and one's 14 feet, give or take. The plan as of 3 o'clock today was still
Was
tomorrow.
to do that, yeah.
Tomorrow, yep.
Okay, and up on Bridge Street,
Same, yeah.
yeah, 2 large potholes up there. so-
It is late, there's no question.
Yeah.
They
Your
were
fingers
definitely
crossed.
focused on the Main Street program, but
Yeah.
they know those are huge priorities, especially the ones that are in a gravel state. Same as our, about half a dozen locations of water repairs on McDonald Park and water valve on, out in the industrial park and one up on Mountain View. Those areas are all still, not potholes, but actual water repairs.
Yes.
Those are easier to pave. You can pave on gravel in freezing temperatures and even wet temperatures, but it's hard to put asphalt on asphalt in a pothole and have it stick this time of year. So
Right.
it's much easier to do it on the areas where there isn't underlying asphalt, just on gravel itself, so.
So we'll keep our
those ones-
fingers crossed.
Those ones we definitely will get done, but
Yeah.
any
Okay.
potholes are tougher unless they mill those out and really get down to a thicker layer to make the asphalt stick.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Councillor Hamilton.
Just a quick question, the Donald Hilt is still closed for construction. When is that gonna reopen, do you think, for the active line?
As I mentioned, I think I said the end of this month, but they're wrapping up, I said wrap up in December, which I guess we're in, but they were testing the water line, pressure testing it from the section basically from Valley Waste through to the back of McDougall Heights, that new section. Because there were some ups and downs, they were having some trouble getting a test to hold. They're pretty confident that's just air, that works itself out, but for the most part, that's about what's left for the year, was to try to test that water system, to make it past sort of that checklist, to get that done before freeze up. But I suspect when I last had a job meeting, which was 2 weeks ago with them, they had proposed sort of the Friday, what is that, the 18th or thereabouts, which I think is a week from this Friday, as their sort of wrap up for the winter date. So another week and a half.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Director Bell, I just have one thing I need to clarify. You said, as far as maintenance for stormwater management, the ditching the south side of the Harvest Trail,
Correct.
does that mean, is that an annual silt removal, or is that a ditching that gets done every 5 years?
It's become, it used to be a 5-year thing, Councillor. It's become, with some of the storm events that we've had and the erosion that got started with primarily the gorge. We've seen,
A lot of silt.
10% of the gorge come down and enter that area. So we're on about an every other year event, and it depends on the year and the amount of events. Like this particular summer, really we were spared by the tropical storms and the events, and the silting was little to none. This past spring when we ditched it, or early summer, I guess it's when we ditched it, once it was dry enough, I think we waited until actually late June. That was taking basically a lot of the previous year's 2024. We had that July event, which brought down a fair bit of silt. We're seeing much less come since that upgrade was done from the Condon area to that larger pipe. There will be silt. It's not going to stop until it's a very hard area to reestablish. It was stable for hundreds of years and had growth and larger rocks, and now a lot of that has come down the hill to the bottom and left an open soil waterway. So those huge events, and we do get them. We were lucky this year, but it'll depend year to year on what's required on that ditch maintenance.
Thank you, and I think your point's well taken, that we didn't get a lot of water this year.
Didn't get the intense water.
Yeah.
Well, it was a drought. It was a drought condition, but usually when we have those droughts, we end up with a
Yeah,
tropical storm or two, which can also make matters worse. When it's super dry and the ground's cracked open, it doesn't absorb at all. It just runs off. And luckily, when we had the drought, we didn't have the tropical events that often seem to accompany it this year.
I know the folks who are downstream from that new pipe will appreciate that ditching for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Director Bell.
Thank you. Good evening.
We'll now invite Director Matthews up with the finance report.
Council. You have the financial reports in front of you, but there are a few items that I wanted to just give an update around since the report was written. One would be on the Kentville Water Commission rate study. So council had asked some questions around that before. We do have a draft that has come to, we expect to have come to us to have a meeting in mid-December. So just so you know that that will be happening. As well, when you look at the section under operations, I talked about the draft 23-24 municipal report for the town. Has been received in draft and will be circulated more widely shortly, I presume. I did note that comments could be included in the report, and we have chosen to provide comments around the municipal tax effort, or residential, sorry, tax effort. That is a calculation that takes the median income for our area and divides our tax revenue into that number to get a ratio. Our revenues are always current, and the median income that's used for our residents is based on the 2021 census. So it will look a bit off is what we were speaking to, because our median income would have risen in the last 4 years, which would make the ratio look more favorable. So that we'll talk about with Audit and Finance Committee at a future date, but wanted you to be aware if you see comments when that report comes out that we did supply comments around that one indicator. I also noted that our sanitary sewer rate changes are being communicated broadly. We do plan to put a letter out with the bills that will go out the end of December, just so residents who may not have seen it will understand why the rates will have changed. So expect that to go out if you have questions around that matter. I've also provided information around where we are for tax billing. At the bottom of my report, we had a 35% drop month over month. So great collection efforts thanks to our receivable and tax clerk. And the roll numbers are pretty much the same as the last year, so which is a good thing. So we don't have a lot more outstanding of accounts. So I wanted to highlight those few items. You may have also noted in the statement of operations, the forecast has been updated. It doesn't look materially different from last month. Last month I focused on revenue only. This month I focused on expenses and revenue. So the deed transfer tax adjustment that went in last month for revenue of 75, now the expense adjustments in there for us to transfer it out. As well, you will have noticed that there were savings in administration that I've highlighted and detailed that really combat that $75,000 transfer out. So we're still looking fairly good. I also noted that Public Works and Engineering, we haven't made any major adjustments for them. So that will come next month. However, we're feeling hopeful. I also noted in the statement of operations that we had appeals that adjusted our tax revenue by about $27,000. I just wanted to share that there were 3 commercial accounts, each in the 223 to 231,000 range adjustments, and we had a residential adjustment for 213,000. So some fairly large adjustments that create that 27,000 amount. Just so you're aware of that. And I believe the other item that I wanted to highlight was around capital. You'll see the capital investment plan. You will see in the status report those items that are completed or deferred and what their forecast relates to. Those items have been incorporated into Appendix C in our reserve fund balances. So you will see in that Appendix C, we have a projection for March of 2026, which is $1,756,507. That incorporates all of those capital changes, as well as any adjustments to transfers in, which were nil, as far as I know. And the reserve balances are about, for, other than Water Commission, but for town are about 700,000 better than we thought because of some of those projects that have been deferred that you'll see on the capital plan. So right now, those reserves are within that $700,000 to where we would have budgeted and to the favorable side, which is a good thing, because that means most of our projects are coming in on target, or what's over is matching what's under in some other areas. So those were the pieces I just wanted to highlight as additions to the report and for clarity. And I'm open to any questions that councillors may have.
Perfect, thank you, Director. Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the Director. Three really quick questions, I think they are. In the first section under operations, there's a comment there around to ensure sufficient funds are available to cover. So in that instance, do you, or does the town use like an operating line of sorts, or do you use?
Right. So we have two options. One, and you can see in bullet 2 that we do have a ministerial approval for temporary
Yes.
borrowing. So we do have that available to us. And it is for specific capital projects, so if it's related to that. Our cash flow challenges right now are really around awaiting reimbursement from the province for funded projects.
Sure.
And right now, because we have a consolidated bank balance, we're not in an overdraft position.
Okay.
So we haven't utilized the temporary borrowing yet.
Okay.
But we're making phone calls to say, please give us our cash for, you know, Donald Hiltz and some of these big programs. So
Okay.
we're hopeful we'll see some movement on that this month. If not, we will dip into our temporary borrowing.
Okay, great.
We're trying to avoid losing
Yeah.
that interest revenue if we can.
For sure.
Or interest costs.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next one is around PVSC. So when folks appeal their assessments, are we privy to everybody that's appealed their assessments and then we
Yes.
find out? So is it the majority of them are successful, or is it, it's sort of a crapshoot every year? Yeah.
Bit of the latter.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do get a standard list of everybody who's appealed.
Okay.
Many of them, what I've been told, and CAO may know more because he has more experience than me around this matter, but when speaking with PVSC, there are many, many businesses that put in appeals every year and never are really successful, so the list is rather long.
Okay.
The success rate is not always as high.
Okay.
However, this year there have been, and last year, a number that have been in the $250,000 range
Okay.
for large either commercial rentals or residential apartment buildings.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
been where the most of them have been.
Right.
So if you have, you know, 3 or 4 of those at 150 to $250,000, it has a an impact to our revenue stream.
Yeah.
I did budget for 18,000 and we're at 27, so
Okay. Okay.
at least we have something built into the budget to offset. It's not a significant
Yes.
amount, but it will make us give pause to what we might want to put in next year.
For the
Folks are
ensuing
seeing
year.
more success
Okay.
in those appeals.
Okay. My very last question is around, and I'm not sure if I'm titling it the right thing, but when, every year, we look at an income threshold for folks who will get a tax
Yep.
break. And I have had a number of people just over the last few months ask me about sort of the differentiation between us and, say, other,
Yep.
call it like communities. I feel like last year we increased it to about 32,000-ish, I think.
So last year, I want to say last year, I believe it was for 24, 25.
Right.
What we did was we have, people have different methods and we could certainly pull back, the deputy clerk and I could pull back that memo that gave a comparison to
Yeah,
others.
yes.
Just for your information, make sure you have that.
Okay.
But we do is we have a threshold, like if you earn a certain level,
Right.
there's a set dollar value if you're in a different level than another.
Right.
So there's a range.
Yes.
In those thresholds. Some do just a set. If you meet this, you get a certain dollar value. So there's different methodologies.
Okay.
But we did collapse our groupings, so we saw more people receiving, many people that received the lowest level are now receiving a higher level due to the collapsing. But it would still be less than some of our neighboring areas.
Okay.
That would be true.
And is this something that you're potentially looking at for the 2025, 2026 year?
It would be for 26, 27.
27, that's what I meant to say,
And if
sorry.
council wishes, we could certainly bring forward a suggestion and what the budget implications would be for that before we move into our operating budget. That wouldn't be a problem if council wishes me to do so.
Okay.
Because
But-
normally it would go up by CPI only.
That's what it is. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we would the calculation
Sorry,
looks
I
at
forgot
what
that, yeah.
the threshold is based on, old age security and
Yes.
CPP. So we
Okay.
look at that current number for 26, that comes in January 2026.
Okay.
And then we look at CPI and we
Okay.
make those adjustments only.
Okay.
We haven't done a change in methodology last year, it was the year before.
Okay.
If council is looking for us to change that methodology, potentially increase the
Okay.
amount of rebate, then I'd be happy to do that analysis and bring it forward prior to budget.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's okay. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Hi, Director.
Hi.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Just the deferred on our project list. If it's
Yes.
deferred, how long is it deferred to?
Sure.
That's what I'm wondering. I know some in the gray are canceled, but
Yeah.
some of these ones that are deferred, I think there's 3 of them there.
Just let me.
When would that be, when would they look at bringing those back?
Okay, so let me see. I took those details with me, so I believe, so there is Park Street, Mitchell Brook, and Director Bell can correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm looking at his report. That is one that we are deferring till 26, 27. So the plan would be that we would tender that before the beginning of next fiscal year, so we could start that work in 26, 27. Tendering in January, we would expect. Apple Tree is deferred as well to 26, 27. I don't believe we have a tender package ready for that yet, but that would be something that we have deferred for next year.
Okay.
And I believe
Memorial
Spring
Parks.
Garden was
Spring
the
Garden,
other.
Yep,
And it
Or Spring Garden.
yep.
is the same, deferred till 26, 27.
26, 27.
They're kind of all ready to tender, so that work is complete and they would be moved to next year.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Perfect, thank you, Director.
You're very welcome.
Up next is Director Shoup with Planning and Development.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Excuse me. So a couple highlights from the report for November. I guess want to mention the significant workload in November, so some of the work we're doing on the plan review has been put off for a bit until we get a handle on what we're doing currently. But we still have hopes that we can get back to it before the end of the month. I can't promise a work plan for the new year, but we're going to see what we can do. One step in the right direction with this will be, we're looking to hire the Climate Action Coordinator. We'll hopefully get ads out this week, and that may help with the work what we're doing as well, in addition to the Clean Foundation, some support we may get from them. In terms of the monthly review from the statistics side of things, we had 8 development permits with roughly $900,000 worth of estimated construction value for the month. A singular subdivision application was received and is being processed for Belcher and Campbell. And there's a graphic in the report that represents that. In terms of planning applications and reports, there are 3 off the top that will appear later in tonight's program. Firstly, the Heritage Advisory Committee with some of the recommendations from them. Another look at the program-based housing And thirdly, the rezoning redesignation application from Dr. McGregor for 153 Belcher. In terms of other ongoing processes, the early permits report application from Bryson Developments is something we're still working through with legal right now. Make sure we're on top of that before we bring it back. Development agreement with Vita Living, more legal, so that's taking a little bit longer and still in process. And then the Bell Tower that was we talked about over the summer. Still haven't heard any updates from them, so it's probably time for me to follow up just to see where they're at. Lastly, from community and economic development side of things, believe it or not, we're already talking about Apple Blossom Festival. So Lindsay's been working on that a little bit, and she's also looking into marketing and draft budgets for the upcoming year as well. So happy to answer any questions on these items.
Perfect, thank you, Director. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Director. I'm looking at the map on Campbell and Mountain View and Belcher, that piece. Now, I'm not really sure which piece is it, the green piece or the orange piece? Which is going to be the subdivision piece?
So we'll call it your green piece, it's being subdivided. There's a piece that's remaining on Campbell and the remaining triangle on the east side, that's being consolidated with the other piece.
Okay, so that whole area could be developed in there?
They're being connected. I'm not sure if there's any intent to develop it at this point. But
okay, so I think that's a gully that runs through there. I think it's a waterway as well.
Right.
Yeah, so we're aware of that.
Worth noting. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. We'll see what's coming.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
I'm just wondering, in the permits you have listed there, you have a change in use in tenants and renovation. Where's that one at?
Sorry, just let me get caught up with you.
That was the last one, 4529. Is that something that was brought forward to us, or?
These,
They wouldn't come to us, yeah.
No, they would be processed through the development officer, and this is the report from the development officer on individual development permits. So they've been traditionally kept fairly vague.
Okay.
And just hit the high notes for the descriptions on them.
Okay.
So that's what we've typically done. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Perfect, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to thank all the directors and the chief and wish you guys all a very happy holiday and well-deserved. It was a great year. I want to just take a minute and plug something I forgot to mention at the beginning of the meeting. We applied to win a small town takeover contest from HGTV about a month and a half ago. And they followed up the other day and they want a second video, so we've made it to the next level. So I've arranged Sunday, and this is for anybody watching at home, to come to Center Square Sunday at 4 o'clock. We're gonna make a huge community video and show them our community spirit, because I think that's what they're looking for, is to see how excited we are. We don't have any money for advertising, so we're gonna pull on that community spirit because it's free. So I expect as many people to come Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock to Center Square, and we're gonna do an awesome little clip, so thank you. So we will move on now to new business, and we have a request from Director Bell.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. I haven't had a recommendation or a request, I think, in a few months, so it's my first one in a bit. This is for the sort of pre-approval of equipment purchase prior to our capital budget meetings. So Public Works generally replaces our trucks and heavy equipment through the capital investment program once they reach 10 years of service. Ideally, that's usually our useful life. While this approach is common among municipalities in the province, we are finding that some assets are not lasting the full 10 years without expensive rebuilds. And this has been the case with our previous two dump truck plow trucks. You've seen that probably the fairly new 2024-25 one, the yellow one that replaced our 2013 just last year, or almost 2 years ago now, I guess. And our current our current oldest dump truck plow truck is a 2016 model, and it has reached the end of its service life. with a severely rusted dump body that has actually been on 2 different trucks now, so it's pushing 20 years old. And ongoing time-consuming repairs. This winter will be the final season for the 2013 plow truck. So the current build and lead time for a single axle dump truck meeting our specifications is about 10 to 12 months. They may be able to do a little better through early procurement this time of year. So to ensure delivery of this critical replacement equipment by next winter, tenders would need to be issued by the end of December, following our next council meeting. I guess that's a week from tonight, a little earlier because of the holidays. So policy-wise, we requires council to pre-approve or approve rather pre-order of equipment before next fiscal year's budget is passed. You'll see, and I'll apologize to Victoria, I think in my report that I submitted in the package a week ago to get it out to council, we had estimated 450. Since then, I have spoken with suppliers and gotten some more accurate pricing. So between the truck itself and then the upgrades to a dump body and a plow and wing and all the equipment, we're looking less than the 450. So where our ask, which includes the non-recoverable HST, is 400,000 even. That allows a little bit of
We're getting a deal.
wiggle room. Yeah, getting a deal. So yeah, we just less than 2 years ago, we spent handy 350 on the same piece of gear, and we're up that much, that 15% or more to put us handy 400. That is what we forecast a year ago in the 5-year plan for this upcoming next fiscal year. So we do have that funding. It is funded or budgeted in the 26-27 capital year now, pre-approved last year, but we'll be bringing that forward later. And I can read the recommendation, or Victoria probably has it updated if she does to what it reads now, is that Council Advisory Committee recommend for approval up to $400,000 for the purchase of a replacement single axle dump truck complete with dump body, plow and wing gear, and delivery and payment not expected until the 26-27 fiscal year, ideally in the fall of next, before we end up actually receiving a bill for that. Something else I was going to add to that just sort of slipped my mind. Yeah, I know. Currently with our older one, we don't have a wing on that machine. We only have the wing, we'll say, which is the big arm on the side of the big plow. But with the growth and the expansion of the Hilts Road, we will need a wing on both machines, which also gives us the flexibility with the one that's now just short of 2 years old. If that's down for repairs, currently we only have that in the loader with a wing. But this truck will be outfitted very similar to the current one, the 2-year-old one. So we'll have 2 dump trucks with the wing. So that's why it's upwards of $400,000.
Okay, so the recommendation would be that Council Advisory Committee recommend to the December 15th council meeting for approval up to $400,000 for the purchase of a replacement single axle dump truck complete with dump body and plow and wing gear with delivery and payment not expected until late fall 26-27. This $400,000 would be budgeted in the 26-27 capital investment program, with funding coming from a combination of the equipment reserve and/or capital reserve and/or long-term borrowing once the 26-27 capital budget is finalized.
And I could update that, Mayor, sorry, that it is truly, Director Matthews gave me information here just this afternoon that we did have that fully funded out of the equipment reserve alone.
Okay.
So there will be no capital equipment,
Okay.
capital reserve or long-term
Okay,
debt for that, just
Okay.
the equipment reserve.
right from the equipment reserve. Okay.
Correct.
Someone wants to move by Deputy Mayor Kroll and Councillor Andrew as a seconder. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Director Bell, is there any value in the truck, the 2016 truck? Can it be sold for scrap or something so that we get some money out of it?
We certainly will once we have have the new one in our possession. We wouldn't want to see it until we know we have the new one ready for the road. We do have actually, it's a good question because we have a tender right now for 2 public works trucks and 2 parks and rec trucks. One of its, which is our old street sweeper, not seeing a lot of interest for that, but we do have a lot of interest in our, it was a 2-ton truck that got replaced just last year, the silver one you see around town. Its predecessor, that tender closes this Thursday, and we're seeing a fair bit of interest. And we expected a few grand, but I think we're going to potentially get a few more. Too early to know for sure, but just from the interest, we're hopeful. And that, of course, would go towards, funding it.
Yep.
But don't expect a lot of money for the dump truck because it'll be 11 years old at that point. But
Thank you.
hopeful.
Councillor Hamilton.
So I'm just looking at the bigger picture here, and there's a rust issue. I'm wondering is there like a better truck that could be bought for a little bit more so that maybe in the long run we can get more out of it?
Yep.
Or is there like something we could do so that we're not having these rust issues, so that it lasts longer?
The reason, and I did correct my own notes here, Councillor, to say that the dump body, which is in the worst condition, is actually being on 2 trucks now, not just the 10-year-old. It was on a 10-year-old its predecessor, so that dump body has lasted us 20 years, 2 trucks worth, and that is beyond the useful life. We've repaired that body now, 5 or 6 times over, and could have. It's as heavy. They're all, they're not stainless trucks or bodies. They are common painted steel. So that's the life you get in. They haul salt. So compared to maybe contractors that put a lot of their equipment up for the winter, ours get most of its use in the winter with the road salt, and that's what just destroys them.
So
is
you
the salt.
mentioned the stainless trucks?
I was saying that's not an option. Like I said, they're not stainless bodies. They are a common steel dump body that's painted, but the painting is better and the plating is better. But that body again has already been on 2 different trucks now, so it's the part, the dump truck part, not the truck itself. The trucks are really good for 10. The more fancy they become, the more small wires they have, and that again, even the salt on those leads to numerous breakdowns, just electrical with the fancier trucks. But 10 years is the expected life for the truck, and we may see this body last for 2 trucks as well. This truck and another one, but too early to guess that.
Perfect. I guess there's no more discussion, so I'll call for the question. Voting is almost open. It's coming. All right. And voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, I guess we're going to welcome Chief Smith up.
Chairperson.
Or is the chair, Chair is coming up to present, Chair of the Police Commission. Or both, I guess we're going to have 2. Two's better than 1.
We're both coming. So yes, thanks for having us on the agenda tonight. So at our last board meeting, it was, I put a proposal forth and the board voted on and passed it. So we're here tonight to discuss it. So we've asked our board chair, Virginia Brooke, to come discuss the proposal to council. And then obviously if there's any further discussion questions that need to be asked us, I'm here for backup.
Thank you. Good evening, council, mayor, CAO, directors, fellow citizens. And it's nice to see a new deputy clerk. Welcome. Folks, I think you've probably received a letter from both the chief and from the police board about hiring when we're down a person. And basically, it's not an easy process. It can take, if we put a recruit through the Atlantic Police Academy, it can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months, because you can't just get in there. You have to plan for that. So it takes a while. And there aren't very many openings. I think, Chief, you said we might get somebody in July? We might. So basically, the chief has made some proposals here. And the proposals have to do, you've seen the details in our letters, but there's three things that come to mind after looking at this in retrospect. One is the management team at the police service has provided risk management for gaps in our staffing. They have also used a process that is proven successful. We're using it right now. And it's a process that we can all review. So if the chief finds something's not going wrong, it can come to the police board and we can review. So the risk management part has to do with gaps in staffing. Right across Canada, every police service has problems hiring right now. They've got all sorts of vacancies on their staff. How are they filling it? By competition. It's an ungodly competitive atmosphere out there to get police staff. So the other thing that goes into this is retirements, long-term disability, short-term disability, lateral moves. Last month we had one of our officers move to the RCMP. So gaps happen, vacancies are de rigueur right now. Everyone has vacancies. What's the result of those gaps, though? Let's think about that. If we have a gap in staffing on our police staff, there's a couple things we can do. We can reduce service. Okay, that looks like maybe fewer foot patrols, maybe delayed response times. There's a whole host of things you can do, but basically public service goes down a notch when we have a vacancy. How do we do that? Don't know. The other option is overtime. So you rely on the staff that is left to fill in those gaps. Now you know what happens with overtime. It's expensive, right? You also know, like we've just said, it can take 6 to 18 months to fill that gap in staffing. So think of overtime for 6 to 18 months. That's quite a chunk, folks, quite a chunk. We're in the 100,000 range anyhow, easily. So basically, the proposal that the chief has given us, the management team at our police service, is meant to address these gaps. So it's a risk management process. The other thing to bear in mind is that the process is proven successful right now. We had a recruit hired by the chief and the management team, went through the Atlantic Police Academy, came back, did his on-the-job training, and when our officer left last month for the RCMP, this gentleman fit right in to the patrol. So it was a buffer, and it filled in our staff. Same process the chief is now asking for is what just happened, okay? Proven successful. And the last thing I think that's pretty important is this is a reviewable process. If things are not going quite as we want, if the chief finds that there's something wrong in the process, he's going to bring that, well, first he's going to try to fix it, aren't you? And then he's going to bring it to the board, and then the board will bring it to you either by counselors or by a report. So overall, the staffing proposal that the chief has proposed, 85,000 for a one-year term over 2 terms, is meant to address risk management. It also is a process that is proven successful already, and it's a reviewable process. So we're not locked into something if it turns out bad. For those 3 reasons, in addition to the information you have in our letters, I ask, and the board asks, that you support and authorize funding for a recruit for 1 year and then another term, please. And thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Any questions? Councillor, or Deputy Mayor Kroll, sorry.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'm wondering the timing of this ask. Are you asking today that the $85,000 be hard-coded now? Or are you asking to have it placed in your budget to be discussed when the budget process begins next year?
I can answer this.
Please.
So as the board chair mentioned, we actually have it in our budget right now currently, but because we lost a member as a lateral, obviously we're below complement now, so if that makes sense. What I'm asking for is the positions for July of 2026, and the process takes anywhere from 1 to 2 months to go through, interviews, applications, background checks, psychological exams, and so on. If we can't say for certain that we get a position, I can't get a spot.
Okay.
And I can't even guarantee that I can get a spot, but I've been told by the director that typically people drop out, agencies back out, and if we have someone in ready to go, then we can assign them to that class. So yes, it would be, so they would start, if it's granted, they would start the academy in 2026 July, graduate in probably March, April. So it would be in the 2027, 28 fiscal that the money would be required.
In the 27, 28 year?
2027, 28 by the time they graduate. Yeah. By the time they graduate, yeah.
Okay,
So
I see.
it should be actually the next, 27, 28, 28, 29 fiscals.
Okay, so you're not looking for this money in January of 20, or in
I'm not looking for any money
early
right
spring
now.
of 2026?
Yeah.
You're not looking for this money? Okay,
No.
that explains it. Thank you.
Councillor Savage.
My apologies, I had the same question.
Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Chief. I'm just wondering, we invest in this cadet and send them, how many years of service are they expected to give the town for that money?
So currently, right now, there's no agreements that guarantee service to the town. Having said that, something I made note of that I wanted to mention, I mentioned in my letter, since the town or the Kentville Police Service has been entered into the PSSP pension plan, I currently have 3 members that are probably going to retire in 2 to 3 years. So as you can imagine, with a service of 18 people and 3 members leaving probably around the same time, pretty close to it, we're going to have vacancies. So again, these 1-year terms are probably going to come around the same time as these people retiring as well. But there is no, like Council, there is no guarantee. Contractually, what we do ask them is if they should leave within 2 years that they have to repay some of the expenses for uniforms, equipment, that kind of stuff. But that's where we stand right now.
Councillor, the recruit pays for their own
They
training.
do, yeah.
It's not us that pays for that training.
What are we investing in?
Yeah,
Sorry,
so-
Chief.
So we're not, so it costs $35,000 to go to the police academy.
Right.
The cadet is responsible to pay that $35,000.
Right.
What we're offering them is a 1-year term, full-time contract. No guarantees at the end of 1 year. And that's for situations like we've dealt with over the last, since I've been in management, hopefully not because of me, but since I've been in management, we've replaced many, many members. And not having those members and that ability to pull like we've done recently causes a lot of hard times for the people that are working. As the board chair mentioned, 6 to 18 months, sure, that's a long time. A lot of overtime, but that's a lot of added extra hours on our people. And then we get burnout, and then we have people going off for burnout reasons. And I don't want to see that either, so. there's many benefits to having the ability to do this. The police academy's not like it used to be over the last 5 years. It's changed. You have to hold a seat in order to get somebody from there.
Right.
Prior to that, you could wait till graduation day and pick and choose who you wanted. You can't do that anymore.
Okay.
So unless you're,
So I'm just wondering what the 85,000 goes to. Is that how much they get paid for that year?
that's their 1 year salary.
Okay.
That's salary and benefits. Yes, that's
So
correct.
we could get 1 year from them,
Yep,
and then they could go to RCMP.
they could. Yep,
But they're giving us that 1 year.
correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Madam Chair and Chief, for the strategy. The
Yeah.
1 year term, and I know you know your folks better than we do. Is this enough? Is it, you're talking about 2 or 3 retiring within the same time frame, and it seems like the strategy of sponsoring or holding a seat for Kentville at the APA is a good idea to go about it. Is one enough, I guess?
Is one position enough?
One position enough, because you, like you say, you're losing 2 or 3, and then we're into overtime, burnout. Yeah, I got the equation.
I mean, I guess I gotta start.
Start small.
In
Okay, because I
this
just,
situation, yeah, it's been very fortunate over the last, this current fiscal, that we were given the opportunity to hire one above complement. So, you know, doing that again would be a huge benefit. Again, it's been said many times that I've seen, you know, council and people in the community, this town's growing and it's gonna continue to grow. So having those resources, I can't see, you know, there's a huge benefit to having that position.
I'm just wondering if, like, 6 months from now, when we see this cadet start at the academy and we find there's another seat open in January 2027 with the next cohort, is that something that we need to plan for? Because these costs we're not incurring till 2027 to start with.
I mean, it could be a possibility that, so the academy's run 2 courses a year now, so January and July. Yeah, it's a possibility for sure.
We'll see when we get there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you for your report, for the proactive succession planning. I think you just answered my question. So your next cohort after July of 2026 is January of 2027, is that correct?
It could be, yes. It could be January 2027 or July of 2027, if that makes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my only question. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you both. Appreciate that. No, we're good. Thank you very much. And I'm going to move on to item 6C, which is repeal temporary development officer. Is there anything you want to speak to that CAO, or you're okay if I just take the...
Straightforward.
So this one's pretty straightforward. The recommendation is that Council Advisory Committee recommend to the December 15th council meeting to repeal policy G34, temporary development officer. Moved by Councillor Savage and a seconder, Councillor Baker. You seconded that, right? Oh, Councillor Hamilton, sorry. I heard it over that way. I didn't know who it was. Is there any discussion on that? No discussion. We will call for the question. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. It's going to be a hard one, CAO. The next one is 6D, to repeal the policy G60 styrofoam products. So the recommendation is that Council Advisory Committee recommend to December 15th council meeting to repeal policy G60 styrofoam products restriction. Anybody want to move that one? Deputy Mayor Kroll. and Councillor Andrew is a seconder. It's a real hard one. Is there any discussion on that? I guess we'll call for the question then. I like to put those hard ones first. And voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is 6E, Policy 104, Public Consultation. Anything you want to speak on that, CEO, or?
Just that we're just trying to streamline it and bring it up to date to 2025, 2026, and clarify some of the provisions that in the past have caused us to pause, weren't quite sure the interpretation, so we're just trying to clarify.
Okay. So the recommendation is the Council Advisory Committee recommend to the December 15th council meeting to approve Policy 104, Public Consultation. Someone could move that. Deputy Mayor Kroll and Councillor Maxwell as a seconder. Is there any discussion on that? Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship.
Oops.
I move to amend the motion by adding, and that official communications related to this policy shall come from the mayor.
Okay. Anybody willing to second that? Councillor Andrew.
Is there a specific?
Is there a place you want to put that, or?
At the very end of the clause 6B, I believe it is.
Okay.
Can you read that again? So is it 6B and then?
Yeah. Shall I read it again?
Yeah.
At the end of 6B, to read, and that official communications related to this policy shall come from the mayor.
So the amendment's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment? And we're only going to discuss the amendment part right now, not the motion. Councillor Savage.
Mine's not on the amendment, mine was on the.
We'll wait till we, see if this flies or not. Councillor Hamilton.
So with that amendment, can I don't know if this is the proper procedure, but can I add to the amendment that we look into like a mayor letterhead? Can
What
we
do you
do that
mean?
so that you have your specific letterhead that you would use, that it's right from your office of the mayor?
We have a letterhead, and it always says office from the mayor on it.
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
realize
yeah.
that we had that.
No, we do. You don't
Okay.
have to amend that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Perfect, thank you. Any other discussion on the amendment? So we'll vote on the amendment now. It's been moved and seconded to amend the motion by adding, and that official communications related to this policy shall come from the mayor. Yes.
No, hand vote.
Just hands, yes. So all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried, okay. So now the motion has been amended, the original motion. So now we're gonna vote on that. So we will, it's been moved and seconded that council recommend to the CAC recommend to the council meeting of December 15th to approve policy 104, public consultation, and that official communications related to this policy shall come from the mayor. Is there any discussion on this motion?
You're on the amendment one, Steve?
We're on the main motion.
You're on the main motion.
Yes.
So I just want to make a comment.
Okay. We're in discussion. You're at the right
Okay,
point, so.
So I just wanted to say 5A,
Okay.
under public engagement.
Yeah.
Council made discretion. I really, really like that as part of this, as part of this policy. So
Okay.
I appreciate the CAO or whoever put it all together. I think that's a really important piece of it, so. Thank you for that. 5A,
A plus.
yeah. A plus on 5A.
Any other discussion
No, that's fine.
on this? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Under 8A, I'll wait till you get caught up. The request for presentations are made, what I understand here, only by incorporated or long-established informal groups. And yet, under 8B, residents or business owners in Kentville or informal groups now established in Kentville requesting to address council shall do through the public comment section at the end of the CAC, et cetera. I'm just wondering, like the presentation that we had from the group who wanted to fundraise for the recreation center, how would they be treated? As they're a new group, newly associated, advocating for a new policy, so it's not an incorporated or long-established informal group. So but it is, if the nature of the presentation under 8A still, the nature of the presentation is directly related to town operations or is now or will in the near future impact town residents, et cetera. I just want to make sure that newly formed groups who are tackling particular issues or fundraising have the opportunity to make a presentation more than just in the public comments section.
CAO?
I guess most of those groups, I would assume, are incorporated in some sort or some fashion. Otherwise, it's not a group, it's a...
Does that mean letters of incorporation have to be drawn?
Well, they'd have to be incorporated under Societies Act or under some other form of legislation. Otherwise, it just becomes individuals expressing individual opinions as opposed to a group opinion.
True.
And that's what we're trying to avoid is there are times when people rally around a particular topic, but they're not a group. And so they use that as the reason. They have the opportunity at the other meetings to make their comments at the public comment session.
Okay.
As opposed to making a formal presentation when they're not necessarily a formal group.
How difficult is it to become an incorporated group?
$25 and an hour's work.
Okay, thank you. So if they're willing to go that route to make a formal presentation, and that's what we require, that sounds feasible.
Yeah, most groups, if they're a group that's doing any fundraising or have property or have a facility or doing any amount of work at all, are incorporated because it protects them liability-wise as well. So it's a very simple process.
Thank you.
You'd want that anyway, because if the town was ever gonna fund anything, we wouldn't give it to an individual person,
absolutely.
right? So you'd want, Any other, discussion on this? Okay, we'll call for the question then. And voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Next item is 6F, expenses and hospitality. There was, I think, a couple of different policies in there that reflected this, and so they've been consolidated into one clear document now. The recommendation would be that Council Advisory Committee recommend to the December 15th meeting of council to approve policy 105, expenses and hospitality. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kroll and a seconder. I heard, Councillor Andrew. Any discussion on this? No discussion, we will call for the question then. Call for the vote, sorry, as well. Voting is open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Item 6G is proclamations. We have a recommendation that Council Advisory Committee recommends to the December 15th meeting of council to approve policy 106, proclamations. If somebody could move that. Deputy Mayor Kroll and a seconder. Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion on this? Nothing, okay. So we will call for the question. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. The next recommendation is from the Heritage Advisory Committee. Director Shoup will present this. Oh, yes.
Sorry, just a question. So there's some other items listed there, but I'm the only one seeing. There's like carbon offsetting, council conference attendance,
Those are probably the old policies that are repealed.
Oh.
Yeah, and they get automatically repealed when the new
All
one,
to be captured under the.
Yes,
other one.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No worries. Okay, Director Shoup, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just 1 second. All right. So I'm happy to deliver a report on behalf of the Heritage Advisory Committee this evening. And what we've done over the past 4 to 6 months is put together a list of candidate properties across town. And the committee has recommended these 4 to come forward to CAC for the recommendation. So, as I just said, the first set of properties have been looked at and given a great deal of scrutiny. We've looked at them based on what we have for heritage criteria to date, and the report has given some indication of their heritage value based on that criteria. So the CAC is asked to review and forward recommendations to council based on that, and from there, the council would, if we move forward, to initiate a notice of recommendation for the property owners for these 4 properties. So just a quick overview of the process. The Heritage Advisory Committee identifies, evaluates, and recommends. CAC then review and forward the recommendation to council, and council directs, again, staff to go forward with the notices from there. The notices will include the reasons, consequences, hearing rights, and 100-day and 20-day protection for each of these properties. And council decision occurs between 30 and 120 days after notice, and then the registry would be updated upon that approval. So the 4 candidate properties are, in brief here, because there's, again, more description in the report. Heritage Center, so it's a rail era station, one of the last remaining pieces of infrastructure from the Kentville's rail era. Has strong historical value based on that, and also high integrity in that the building still maintains its basic form that it was originally constructed with. Secondly, the Main Street Station, 1920s landmark hotel, and obviously has a significant downtown presence in Kentville. Thirdly, Stagecoach Properties, they were early commercial buildings, and they have a high streetscape value. They're very prominent in that area of town. And lastly, the Oak Grove Cemetery, which is the 19th century burial ground with important cultural landscape and a number of important Kentville residents who are interred there. So those are the quick descriptions. And so I have the recommended motion here, but so quick review, and happy to answer any questions that CAC may have tonight.
Thank you. I'll open the floor to questions. Councillor Maxwell?
Yes, Director, I think we were also looking at, with the Heritage Center being the center of the railway, that there were 2 bridges, one behind the curling club and one over by Shanex.
Right.
We wanted those 2 bridges to be done with that because it's all part of railway history. And those 2 bridges are, one is the Cornwallis line, I think it's called Cornwallis line, and the other one is behind the curling club is the DAR line. There are 2 separate lines that came into Kentville, and those are the original bridges. Those crossing bridges are the original bridges that were there at the time for both of those crossings. So I don't know if we can add that now, but.
Yeah, through the chair, I believe those were mentioned in the report. I don't have a report on me. Can you confirm that? Those may be separate properties as well that we'd have to look at if we're reaching out to property owners, or now that I'm thinking, are they town-owned properties?
I think they're town-owned because.
Okay, that makes it a little easier.
One of them is on the, and we repaired the one by Shanex.
Right.
But it still contains the steel part, and the other one is on the Harvest Moon Trailway, and we repaired that one, so I'm pretty sure they're both town properties.
Any other questions? Councillor Savage?
Thank you, through you to the director. So I'll use Stagecoach as an example. Can they decline it?
They do. The property owners do have an ability to decline
So when
the,
you're looking
registration.
at setting forth a property for heritage purposes, do you first connect with them?
I have not to date.
Okay.
There may have been other conversations that have occurred with the property owners that I haven't been privy to.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it just comes forward.
It's in
Sorry.
the bylaw that we passed.
Yes.
And we designate, and then a letter is sent to the property owners.
Okay.
And the property owners have a certain amount of time
Okay.
to say they don't want to have a designation.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not automatic. They have to come back and tell
I thought
council
it
that they
was, but I
don't want.
wasn't 100% sure. Okay, thank you.
CAO? Yeah.
Just to clarify, I think I haven't looked at it lately, but the Heritage Property Act gives council the authority or the ability to make it mandatory, and you have the hearing to hear them, and they provide their situation, their case, whether they want it or not. And so there is the opportunity to make it mandatory, but then I think after 2 years, they can apply to have it taken off after 2 years. So I think there is an out clause, but I think the act does say that we have the ability to make it mandatory at the start. But obviously, there's lots of reasons why you wouldn't do it. For a whole host of reasons, including insurance, which for heritage properties has gone through the roof.
Right, right.
So there may be, we'd have to double check that, because
That's all. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so I have a recommendation here that, do we need the PIDs in this recommendation, or no? Should we?
the recommendation's in yellow, there's no PIDs.
We don't need the PID numbers? Do we need them, I mean? No, the addresses are there, but do we need the PID numbers? No. Okay. So the recommendation is that Council Advisory Committee recommend to the council meeting on December 18th that consideration be given to adding the following 4 properties to his registry of municipal heritage properties, and prior to doing, provide the required notice to each property owner. The Heritage Center at 66 Station Lane, Main Street Station Inn, as well as 325 Main Street, which is Stagecoach Inn Properties, and Oak Grove Cemetery at 95 Main Street. Someone could move that? Councillor Andrew, and a seconder, Councillor Maxwell. Any discussion on that? We'll call for the question then. And voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. The next item is 6I, 157 Belcher Street rezoning. Director Shoup, the floor is yours for the next 2, I guess. You're here for a while.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, we're here to talk about 153 Belcher Street, the proposed redesignation and rezoning. So we had the public participation meeting, I want to say a couple of weeks ago right now, but recently, which helps inform us a little bit. So the application overview for this is that an application was made for 153 Belcher to redesignate and rezone. Currently residential, redesignation would be to commercial, and it'd be moving from R1 to C2, which is highway commercial, so that's the request. And the purpose for this is to relocate an existing dental clinic to the adjacent lot and to construct a purpose-built clinic. The main emphasis for the dental clinic would be to make it more accessible. That's my understanding. So the location again is on Belcher Street, where it's sort of a mostly residential. There are some commercial that have been designated within that area, and again talks about the proposed. I think the main thing to consider here is that the existing dental clinic has been made C2 under the old planning documents through a development agreement. So the development agreement states that once it's no longer used for that, it would return to its residential nature and designation. And so we're in the sense we're not creating anything new here. We're just shifting it over to the right a little bit. Otherwise, here's the sort of gives the area view for the property outlined in black there. The existing clinic is.
We don't have anything up here.
Oh, it's okay. We can't see it? It should be on podium, but.
Yeah, I know it is
but,
on podium, but
okay.
is there
Well, I guess it's in the report, so that's,
Could you just try to leave the presentation and put it back on the computer? I wonder.
leave the presentation and come back? I can do that. Closing out. Close it all the way down? Or- Okay. Okay. Well, this will be helpful for me at least, but not so much for everyone else. But it is in the report, so. It's okay, it was just a map showing the general areas, which we have seen before. Good for the public, I guess, who are behind me, so. So the relevant MPS policies with this, it's highway commercial. So new highway commercial development is restricted to existing C2 zoned areas. So, but this is not this is a relocation versus not an expansion. And again, just to mention that the current property, the DA would be discharged and would return back to residential. So we're keeping status quo on that street at least. Another policy that would come into place, C8, that's more speaking to the adjacent, the existing adjacent. And because the proposed development would be occurring next to an R 1 and 2 unit residential zone property, it'd be implemented through site plan approval. And the site plan approval would help ensuring neighborhood compatibility through building placement, through careful consideration of parking and access, landscaping, buffering, lighting and signage, vegetation retention, stormwater and grading, and solid waste storage. So all the usual suspects for a site plan approval. So that's a quick overview, and I'm happy to answer any questions that we have tonight.
Perfect. Any questions for Director Shoup based on this report? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question. Looking at the SketchUp, page 9, under it shows a plan of the old property and the new property. The old property has a significant number of parking spots, whereas the new property has a significant reduction in parking. And I'm not sure what the green area is here. Is that a hill or unusable area, or is that a grade?
It's my understanding that's green space, like a landscape space.
Okay, so that's still your setback, so the addition is not going to encumber that. But I'm concerned that, the parking is already an issue for this clinic, and it doesn't seem to be satisfied in the new plan.
Right. Through Chair, my understanding this is still fairly conceptual at this point, and they would have to meet whatever parking requirements we would have for that site based on the development officer's review.
Because I think one of the comments received was from the adjacent property owners about the reduction in the number of trees in order to accommodate more parking as well.
And again, my understanding is that probably back 50% will be retained. That's away from Belcher Street on the I guess, south side. But we would look at how that would be, the buffering, how that would work between the adjacent properties as we get more into the design, once they make a full application for that.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So we have a recommendation that Council Advisory Committee recommend to the December 15th council meeting that council give first reading to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to redesignate and rezone 153 Belcher Street, PID 552-65250 from residential R2 to commercial highway C2 to permit the relocation of an existing dental clinic. Councillor Savage and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Kroll. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call for the question. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Perfect. All right, Director Shoup, take it away.
All right, so the third report is a follow-up report after the public participation meeting on program-based housing. So overall, staff have been given the task of looking at some currently undefined and undetermined land uses within town and framing them through providing definitions and then providing recommendations on where they may best be considered within town. So that's through policy and through implementation and land use bylaw. So that's what we've reached to date. The original set that were at CAC last month, we have revised through some feedback that we obtained during the public participation process, as well as through legal review and operational review with our development officers as well, so internal review. So that's how we get to today. And basically, I want to, because the report itself is fairly detailed, I'm not going to go into all those details, but I just want to touch on a few things. So, mentioned the importance of definitions. So we've given the original definitions a second look, and again some testing through legal and our own operational folks to consider program-based housing, and within that, supportive transitional housing and emergency shelters. So those now have revised definitions. And we've also clarified some of the existing definitions of institutional and emergency services. So I won't speak to those in depth here, but again, just especially because you can't see the slides right now. So that brings us to the second section where we looked at policy and regulatory changes to enable this type of housing within the medium density residential zone, which is where we proposed initially we could start considering this. So in terms of MPS amendments, there are a number of policies that we have talked about in the original report, and again revised somewhat for this latest one. Start with RS-28, which recognizes these uses. So it defines program-based housing as residential lodging with structural supports, and we note that lodging has been selected as a term to avoid the overlap with the current accommodations definition, so we have to kind of parse those out a little bit. RS-29 sets out we would enable it within the R3 zone. So as of right, subject to land use bylaw form and scale standards. And for additional clarity, the site plan approval would be required where the R3 lots would abut R1 or R2. And again, that would address such things as placement, buffering, access, and lighting. And we also state that a DA, a development agreement, would be required for 12 or more units, which would allow more of a comprehensive review of the massing, servicing, phasing, and amenity provisions for that proposed development. And finally, there'd be a new policy which is RS-30, which speaks to supporting standards. For the land use bylaw would include occupancy limits, minimum separation distances, buffering, residential form, site design, and a DA would be permitted where scale and complexity of the proposal so warrants. So the last kind of thought I want to have tonight before we open it up for questions is in terms of the land use bylaw amendments that we're proposing. So this would be additional permitted use in the R3 zone, medium density residential, where we would add program-based housing as a permitted use. And there would be a new section to 5.1.14 of the land use bylaw with regards to site plan criteria. Again, specifying that the maximum of 12 units or sleeping rooms would be permitted through site plan approval, 60-meter separation distances between program-based housing sites, residential scale and form must match surroundings, no exterior signage, identifying client type, adequate parking, lighting, screening, and buffered outdoor amenities areas, and must also meet all the general criteria for site plan approvals in section 5.1.12. So it's kind of a brief overview of the changes that we've made over the last few weeks, and we'd be certainly open to any questions that you may have on that tonight.
Thank you, Director. Any questions for the Director based on that report? Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Director. Just want point of clarification. So if we have a property that's R3 and an R1 abutting R3, then that R1 could, if it was sold, could apply for an R3 designation. Is that correct? Because it's abutting?
R1 is limited to what we can do in the municipal planning strategy now, which only allows it, and I may ask for help on this one, just to make sure I get it right, but I believe we're not able to go to R3 from R1. We're not able to rezone in that direction. R1 is limited to basically remaining R1.
But if it abuts an R3, because I thought that was.
That's for
fair game.
designation. If you have, it's the adjacent, if you're thinking of the adjacency
Yeah.
principle in this, that if you have a designation which abuts, then you could apply for, and I want to make sure I'm getting this right as well.
So if it's adjacent,
Yeah, it's the adjacent, but designation, not zone.
so kind of across the street.
It's a different idea where if you have a residential, similar to when the first report came forward, and we were speaking of C1 properties that may be adjacent to residential commercial designations in the C1 zone, which may be adjacent to residential designations, could then look to pick up that R3 zone through adjacency. And I don't have the policy off the top of my head. Ben could probably yell it at me if we need it, but that's how that works. It's slightly different. So you couldn't go R1 to R3. Short answer.
Okay, so somebody couldn't come in and ask for, what about an R2 to an R3?
R2 to R3 is something that could be considered. It's not as restricted in our NPS.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor, through you to the Director. So, Director, what I did was I took the staff report and then I tried to match it up with the new report with the amendments that you made. For me personally, obviously, if it's personal, if I say it's for me, I found it difficult, somewhat difficult to match it all together and to comprehend it in a way where I can make a really good decision for moving forward. So let's say that this goes to first reading. It goes to council and we approve the first reading. Then it goes to a public hearing. Once it goes to a public hearing, can this be amended? Can there be changes made after that public hearing before it goes to second reading? I think I'm saying that right, am I? Yeah? Yes.
If I may, typically the public hearing and the second reading are on the same evening, but they can be separated out. And if council felt that there were sufficient cause to bounce it back, the staff to review this, it could be accommodated, yes.
Okay, so then I have a question around the R3, and we're talking about as of right.
Yes.
Could we not have that done by way of site plan approval? And I think I might have mentioned that at the public participation meeting.
So when we say as of right in this case, the site plan approval process only would occur where this is adjacent, where an R3 is adjacent to a lower density residential zone. So that's the only time.
Like what Councillor Maxwell's talking about,
Yes,
right?
that's the only time when site plan approval would take place. If it were adjacent, if it were somehow in the center of a series of R3 properties.
Right.
That would be as of right.
That would be as of right.
That'd be straight through. But we give it extra consideration when it abuts a lower density residential based on our documents.
Okay.
So that's
the
that
site
case,
plan
yes.
approval piece.
Right.
Right, okay. And my last question. Do you think that this is a bit, do you think this is somewhat complicated? Or is it just me?
No, it's a fair question. Whenever
I consider myself to be fairly intelligent, but I am struggling with this somewhat, I must say.
Whenever staff endeavors to make changes to existing documents to accommodate a new idea or new direction, there are many layers that we have to go through to make sure everything matches up properly and that we can actually implement the policy direction that we would receive from council. So that in part is sort of the nature of the issue here, that we have to go to a level of complication to work through all the existing language to make new language function within that system, if that makes any sense. So that's part of the process, and we've been working very hard
Yes,
with the
and
development
thank you
officers
for
to
that.
get to that.
Yeah.
But we understand that it's still, there's a lot of untangling that's going on within this, and we certainly appreciate that as well.
Yes, okay. Thank you. I will be supporting it moving forward tonight, so.
Councillor Hamilton.
So you did mention the definitions. You took a second look at that. I'm just wondering with those definitions, and I can't remember from the first document, have you looked at the definitions that the province has, and do they match up, or do they conflict?
Yeah, we did have a look at not only what the province has to offer, but what other municipalities, a selection of towns where we went across. There's not a lot of, what would you call that? And there's not a lot of standardization with these terms across towns, and the province has the same. It's a mixed bag in terms of defining things, and to a larger extent, it hasn't been attempted. So we're trying to do something that's fairly new here, and that's part of the struggle in trying to not only to communicate that, but to make sure this work will stand up once we get to that point in the process where we're actually testing it. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of standardization in this language to date that I'm aware of, and I've spoken with a number of people at the provincial level as well who shared that same view. So. We can hope for more in the future.
Councillor Baker.
When is it appropriate for an amendment to what we see in front of us to move away from R3? Because there are so few opportunities in Kentville to purchase a property for this type of purpose.
Well, right now, this would just be to send it to first reading. In order for him to review this, you'd be wanting him to start over again and look for, you're saying totally different ideas, what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be totally different. So this, I guess you'd have to defeat this and then send it back to staff to spend time. This is just first reading, and as Councillor Savage pointed out, this could lead down a different path too, right? This is just kind of the start of a process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not
Yes,
100% clear. CAO?
Yeah, just to clarify, if a member of council wishes to bring forward an amendment in the future, we should probably let staff know relatively soon, because as Councillor Savage said, planning's complex everywhere. You won't go anywhere in Nova Scotia, probably Canada, where people will tell you planning's too complicated. It's the nature of the beast. It's 150 pages of documents that are written for courts. And so if you plan to propose an amendment or want to discuss an amendment, you probably should reach out to Mr. Shoup in the next week or two, so that he can prepare the proper wording in the sections, because just to make an amendment today, it may actually require an amendment to 5, 10, 12 sections.
Yeah, it's not appropriate.
And so to make an amendment to one section would cause more anxiety. But if members of council wish to propose amendments, let Mr. Shoup know, and he can, with his staff, prepare all the sections that would need to be amended to make that a reality.
Thank you.
Councillor Maxwell.
Okay, just one more question. The abutting and the adjacency rules only apply to R2 properties that are abutting or adjacent in R3, is that correct?
Say that again.
That the abutting and adjacency rules only apply if the properties abutting and adjacent are R2?
Let me see if I can try to. So adjacency is when we were talking about C1, some of the C1 properties that were on the fringe.
Right.
That may be adjacent to residential designations.
Right.
That could then be considered for an R3 rezoning. Abutting is more to do with the site plan approval process, if I'm understanding properly. So if we have an R2 that abuts, or an R1 that abuts an R3, then we'd be looking at a site plan approval process as the means to take forward a development proposal. If that's a helpful distinction.
Okay, so if I'm looking at an R3 property and abutting it is all R2, then if somebody wanted to buy that property, one of those properties, and ask for it to be rezoned R3, that would be possible.
Yes.
Yes, and across the street, same thing, because it's adjacent.
Yes, that's still adjacent, yes.
Okay, so the only property that wouldn't be able to be rezoned would be the R1s?
Correct.
Okay. There's a lot of R2. Okay, I don't think I can support because there's a lot of R2 in town. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to put that recommendation on the floor. It might take me about 20 minutes to read it, but bear with me here. So the recommendation is the Council Advisory Committee recommends to the next council meeting that first reading be given to the following amendments to Kentville's municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to amend D.1 draft municipal planning strategy policies. 5.14 program-based housing, policy RS-28, shall be the intention of council to recognize program-based housing, including supportive housing, transitional housing, and emergency shelters, as residential uses providing lodging with structured supports, period. Policy RS-29 has been removed. Policy we've got an amended one here, sorry. It shall be the intention of council to enable program-based housing as of right within the medium-density residential R3 zone, subject to the land use bylaw standards that ensure the form, scale, and intensity of developments are compatible with surrounding neighborhoods. In policy RS-30, it shall be the intention of council to include standards within the LUB regulating occupancy, establishing minimum separation distances, and requiring buffering, residential form, and appropriate site design. Larger or specialized projects may be considered by development agreement where warranted by scale or service complexity. Draft land use bylaw framework, R3 zone, add to permitted uses, program-based housing, supportive transitional emergency shelter, and Part 5, which is residential zones. 5.1, general provisions for all zones. 5.1.14, site plan criteria for program-based housing developments. Maximum of 12 units or sleeping rooms per lot. Minimum 60-meter separation between program-based housing uses. Residential form and scale consistent with surrounding dwellings, no exterior signage identifying client type or program, general criteria in accordance with section 5.1.12 of this bylaw. Somebody could move that? Deputy Mayor Kroll, and a seconder, Councillor Andrew. Any discussion on that? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. So the public hearing will give opportunity for the public to ask questions when they're at the public hearing, and to not necessarily make recommendations, but maybe put some other context around this that may or may not change what we are looking at today. Thank you.
Okay, there being no more discussion, we'll call for the question. And voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. We've completed our business of the night. We'll now move on to public comments. We would invite members of the public to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and please state your name. No, you're good? Okay. All right, so that concludes that part of the meeting. We now have confidential matters we must discuss in camera, so I'll take a motion to enter a closed session. Councillor Savage and Deputy Mayor Kroll is the seconder. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you both. You guys want to take a 5-minute